Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about conditional statements in PowerShell. So conditional statements are otherwise known as if statements. It's basically saying if this Boolean statement is true, run this script block. So in lines 1 through 3, I'll automatically generate the code snippet. So if I do if tab, it will give you a if parentheses condition, so any Boolean condition. If this condition is true, it runs a script block. If not, then it doesn't at all. So on line 5 through line 9, we have an example of an if-else. And what if-else does is if this statement is true, it runs this script block. If not, so it's like if this is true, it'll run this, else it'll run this. Here, we're getting too ahead of ourselves. Let's do just the original, let's do a simple conditional statement here. So it's actually put in this, in a Boolean statement. So if 1 is greater than 2, run this. So do a write host. This was true. So we'll highlight that, press F8 and run. Nothing returned in the terminal. If we make a Boolean statement that is true, 10 is greater than 2, run this. It says this was true. So that is one of the most simple representations of a conditional statement. Now let's move on to the if-else statement. So this is just a if statement, and then right after it, there's an else statement. And then this else corresponds to a false or a false Boolean statement in the if statement. So what we'll do here is we'll say if 1 is greater than 2, which is going to be false, so we can expect the else script block to run here. And if we highlight this, press F8, we can see that this resulted in a false Boolean statement. So we see that the else block ran. This resulted in a false Boolean statement. Now if we make this Boolean statement true, we'll run this guy. And we'll notice that only the first script block ran and not the else ran. Now there's another more complex way to handle conditional statements, and it's the if else else combination. What this basically means is you have your first if statement, and if this is true, this script block runs and everything else doesn't. If this statement isn't true, it says, well, that condition wasn't true. Let's try another condition. So it's just, you can chain these together. You can have else ifs for days, for like 10 times. You know, maybe that might not be your situation, but you can do it. So let's run through the example. So if 5 equals to 6, 5 equals to 5. So this is going to be false since 5 equals 612. We'll run this guy. So 5 equals 5. So that's not true either. And then if these are both false, it's going to run this last script block, just like the one up here, the if else. It's basically the else if is just another try. It's like, yeah, if this isn't true, yeah, let's try this. If not, okay, just pass it to else. So let's just run to the top. So let's do 5 equals to 6. Run all of this. And if was true, color green. All right. So let's change this to 5. Run all this right here. Else this was true. And then 5 equals garbly whatever. Run. Nothing was true. There's another type of conditional statement, and it's kind of like it's a switch. It's called a switch, and it basically says, let's see. It basically says if these conditions, or if these values equal from this. So, okay, so if this results in these values, run these script blocks. So in this example, I have said read host, enter 1, comma 2, or 3. So we're going to run this right here, and then we'll see a read host prompt for enter 1, 2, or 3. Now, if I enter a 1 in, so if this results, if this right here, let me highlight that better. Bam. If this results in 1, run this script block. If this results in 2, run this script block. If this results in 3, run this. If 1, 2, or 3 were not derived from this statement, then do the default thing. It says, and I wrote, you entered in something other than 1, 2, or 3. So let's go ahead and enter in 1. See that we get the returned right host of you have entered 1, and then everything else terminates. And then we can all guess what's going to happen if we enter in 2 or 3. And no, I don't want that there. Or whatever. You have entered in something other than 1, 2, or 3. All right, cool. A little boring. Now, what you can do, this is a very primitive menu-driven prompt. And what you do is you encase the switch with a while loop. And you basically make your while loop true until you can result out in something that makes it false. So this is a little more fun. So right now the code is looping over the switch, and it's stopped here, stopped in the read host. And if we hit 1, it says you have entered 1, but you notice that I get the prompt again. So what happened is, since loop equals true, this is another conditional statement. So while this is true, run this loop here. So now every time that we choose an option or enter something in the read host and enter, it's going to pick a script block to run, and then it's going to go right back into the read host, say, okay, we're ready to go again. And what you can do with this is you can start generating a menu-driven script. And this is something I'll cover later in later videos on how you can make something practical for your menu-driven script. Maybe you've developed a way to clear a certain error someone has or fix a certain bug someone has. And maybe you're making a toolkit. Maybe you have select option 1 to fix Outlook, select option 2 to clean out your temp files, select option 3 to, I don't know, email someone you have a problem. I don't know. This is just a basic example. Okay, so we'll hit 2. You've entered 2. We're going to hit Q, which is common for quit, and it says you have quit the loop and it stopped. So what this resulted is it ran this script block and it set loop equal to false. Now once that's ran, the while loop then evaluates the variable loop and finds out that it's false and says, okay, we're done with this while loop, and it just terminates. It's done because there's nothing else to run. Hope you guys learned something with this little quick overview of conditional statements. This code will be available in the video description with a link to the code. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and thanks, guys.